What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's a lovely, cold March night, and it's another day trudging along. But I finally got some really good news today. I would share with all of y'all. As I've been told you guys, I've been waiting a long time now to do this. This treatment that I've been working towards. And finally, the center in Mexico is opening in supposedly 2 weeks. So I made my plane tickets today. I'm going to be going at the end of March. This time for about a week. I have to go get my medication situated, and then I have to go on to this shorter acting opiate for a month or two. And then go back to do the ibogaine treatment. Anyways, in light of that, I kind of wanted to get into today a little bit about my spiritual path that has kind of gotten me to where I am today. And I guess like through all my experiences, I question why I'm still alive a lot. And just how in some ways it has saved my life. And I mean, one thing I'll say for sure is that it certainly it doesn't have anything to do with religion. I didn't even really grow up religious at all. My family was pretty didn't. My mom is Christian. I guess she grew up in a Catholic household. My dad is Jewish, but they didn't really push religion on me whatsoever. So it really didn't come out of like fanatical beliefs, or like anything that I believe beyond, and I mean, I always did have an interest in like occult and paranormal type stuff, but it really has nothing to do with that even also. I think it was really it really most was beneficial to me the more I was able to kind of through all sorts of trials and tribulations, but there was kind of a turning point in my life where just I'm able to kind of see the universe in a more simplistic view, and it is kind of based on primitive science, and it kind of in some ways was able to help me in learning to re-enjoy some things that that I felt disconnected with, some of the things I loved the most in the world. And addiction has a way of doing that, and like a lot of my life I would question like at the depths of addiction, like why would I do all these things that I enjoy if I could just put like smash myself with chemical happiness and do it just without having to even put any work or think into it. And it really fucks with your head, even though like you end up learning pretty quickly that it doesn't work that way. And addiction is pretty shitty. You end up going through lots of withdrawals and ups and downs, and it's never as fun as it is the day that you started. So in some ways, it's I mean, addicts do need to look for some kinds of like miracles to get through life. So you first go into treatment. They do try and push spirituality on you, but the only way they really know how to do it is that you put your power over to this higher power, and that you admit to yourself that you are powerless yourself. And I didn't like that, I didn't feel like that empowered me to want to be myself. It felt like people were kind of admitting that this was, the part of them that this is who they were, and they're going to build their, build who they are around, these other group of addicts. But I took what I needed from that experience, and they made me choose a higher power. I chose Satan at that point. But I don't know if I really truly believed that. But when I came back from rehab, I ultimately found a little bit of guidance in, or originally I looked up to the power of lightning. I had this idea of just energy that was intense and powerful and guided me towards like what I wanted to do, and which was play fast, loud music. And I still continued, and that definitely gave me hope in life, and put me more in the direction that I wanted to, and made me see what I was capable of, and I had spent some time clean, where I did continue to play music, and enjoy it, but eventually addiction creeped back in with other life issues, and okay, I want to say one turning point, I guess, and there are all sorts of things that happened in my life, my first Ibogaine journey, and just, seeing how, just like every turn that I took, I'm set up with these tests of like where needing to put balance into my life to restore my sanity. But there was this one occasion I remember in particular while I was living in Philadelphia with my current girlfriend, and we had both fallen pretty badly back into heroin. I had gotten, we had moved back and forth from Philly a good amount of times, but this time we had stayed for a longer period of time. I think I was on like my second job or whatever. I may have even lost that, I had legal problems, which I think I may have even finished at that point. But so, I'd gone into methadone, but we were still in a bad place, where we were going on like speedball binges once or twice, at least a week, maybe more. So, my life was just this kind of extreme bipolar high and low, where I would think about like getting the money to get drugs, like, and at work, and have a miserable 4 or 5 days, and then 2 days of like escaping from that. But so there was one night where, every once in a while we would have somewhat maybe interesting experiences. Like, we didn't really go out that much anymore. We didn't like have the money or motivation to go to really shows at that point. We'd still smoke weed. And we had this one dude who came by that would sell us bud, and then sometimes he would have like ketamine or ecstasy or something like that. This night we went to my friend's house, who I guess knew the same guy too. They had gotten some ketamine, and so we were, he like invited us to just hang out, and he busted that out, and we were doing ketamine throughout this night, slowly getting higher and higher. So we're just snorting it and going around doing more and more. And I just remember at some point like this clicking in my head where it's hard to explain, but I just kind of, I started like, I felt like there, different parts of my brain that I'm not usually working are at play, and I felt like I just started seeing things in like a different way, and it's hard to explain. I couldn't even really put it into thoughts and words, but I felt like my mind was trying to break down this equation of everything into like the simpler terms, because I felt like with all this stuff I'd thought before about like addiction and how drugs kind of would make things simpler, with all this like how stressful social life can be, and how you create, human beings create this whole society with all these rules, and all of it is so very complicated. My mind was seemingly trying to kind of simplify these things. And then, and I truly believe this happened for a reason. I remember going home that night and watching a video that popped up on my YouTube feed about Hermetic principle. And after seeing that, it really started to click, and like that it really resonated with me. And so I'll go into that, kind of give you guys a broad idea of what that is now, just so you have some idea. And so it's these 7 principles. It starts with the first principle is the principle of mentalism, which is the idea of basically the mind being the all, So, and I've thought about this idea, through a lot of my life, but that, our scope of everything that we know is through our mind's eye. So that basically, that everything we know is as we know it is an equation in our brain. So it's you don't really know exactly how everyone else is perceiving things. Well, that goes to another. That kind of can even bring to another one of the one of the principles later on. But anyways, I'll go on to the second one. It is the principle of okay. So the second one I think is the principle of vibration, which is basically how. And I'm sorry if I get the order of these wrong. I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head. And vibration is how everything is constantly moving, and everything is at different speeds. But all the matter of the Earth, whatever form it in, is moving back and forth. And then there's the idea. Then the third principle is correspondence, which kind of relates to the all is the mind. It's kind of as above, so below. How everything is kind of connected to each other in some way, and they're all in correspondence to something else. It's kind of like in music, different notes, they sound different because they're in different lengths apart from each other. It's like that would sound, the same note sounds different in a progression with two other notes at different distances apart, not because they're different notes, but because of the distance they are. And then that next brings to the principle of polarity, which basically means that everything is on a scale, and so that things aren't necessarily definite in one state. They can, everything will be hotter or colder, taller or shorter, to this side or to that side, but it's all on a scale, and that principle goes with everything. So outside of that, there's the principle of rhythm. And with rhythm, it's kind of with the idea of vibration, that everything is constantly moving, but it's always moving at a certain speed, and that everything can be broken down into that, that is kind of what makes up everything. Even like liquid, gas, solid. It's just the particles moving at different rhythms. And then there's the principle of gender, which just means that all energy in the universe is broken into masculine and feminine, and that that is kind of also on a scale. It's not necessarily, things aren't definitely one way or the other. But the last principle that we have is the principle of cause and effect, which is pretty much like the butterfly effect, that one thing happens which causes another thing to happen, which causes another thing to happen. So a minuscule event can cause something catastrophic down the line, and so kind of it puts some perspective to why some things happen. So yeah, all of these, through, I guess, it came to sink more into my life the further, when I left Philadelphia, came back to DC, when we started our new band, Terminal Vertigo, and just helped me to kind of see that, how music, how important it is, and how it's broken down into literally the rules of the universe. Everything is governed by vibration and rhythm, and it's just it helped me to kind of breathe light into how important I felt like it actually is into the world, and that I'm actually doing something. And also it's a lot of this has helped me to find meaning in just everything. But yeah, that seems to be all the time I have now. So ponder that for now, and there'll be more about all this shit later. I'll see you guys.